Okay, now we have our microphone set up, we're almost ready to record. So let's just get our session set up. Firstly, add a new audio track. So I'm just going to right click in this blank space here and select Insert Audio Track. Now I'm just going to set up the input. If you're using an external interface, plug your microphone into input 1 and turn the gain dial up about halfway. If you're using condenser microphone, make sure phantom power is turned on your interface. There's usually a button with a plus 48V icon near the input gain dial. That's the phantom power. If you want to record a guitar or an external instrument, such as a synthesizer, plug this in instead. Again, if you're using a USB mic, make sure the gain dial is turned up. Or, if you're using the built-in mic on your computer, go into your sound settings and make sure the mic's input volume is turned up. Now, I'd recommend using headphones rather than speakers to avoid getting any feedback. So, what you need to do next is record enable your track. You may notice here I'm getting some movement when I speak. That's because my microphone is plugged into input 1. I'm actually going to use a synthesizer for this recording rather than a microphone, just so it's easier to distinguish between my voice. So if you're using input 2 or another input in your audio interface, just choose it from this drop-down box here. Now when I play a note on my external instrument, you'll see that's lighting up. Okay, so now we've got our input set up, let's just hit the record arm button down here. Notice my monitor is set to off at the moment, but I'm just going to play back a note quickly, and we can see there, those grey bars are indicating this track is receiving signal. Now, what you need to do is set the input signal for your microphone. So, at the moment, when I play a note, you can see this meter is reaching around -12, and that's actually quite a good starting point. If I turn it up too much, you'll see there it's reaching the top, it's going red, and it's clipping. When clipping occurs, the audio signal will distort and damage the quality of your audio. So, if at any point your signal is clipping, you need to turn down your microphone's input. There, the loudest point of the signal was around -6. I'm just going to turn it down a tiny bit more, as sometimes when you're performing, your signal may increase slightly. Right, this should be fine. Now, I'm just going to turn monitor to auto, and we should be able to hear what I'm playing in. So the sound you're hearing there is the sound of a synthesizer being plugged into my audio interface. It is set up in exactly the same way as using a microphone. I've gone into one of the inputs on my interface and adjusted the input gain just as I would if I was using a microphone. If I swap this over to input number 1, you'll now be able to see signal whenever I'm speaking. I'm just going to put that back to input 2 as I don't want to record my voice at the moment. Now, if you're recording your voice with a microphone or even another instrument and you don't want to hear it back in your headphones, then just turn monitor to off. It will still record, but you won't actually hear it being played back in your headphones. This is down to personal preference. Some people like recording being able to hear what's going into the computer, whereas other people do not. Something else I'll mention quickly now. If you've got monitor on auto and you can hear your voice being played back in your headphones, if there's a slight delay, you may need to reduce the buffer size on your computer. So to access that, we need to go back to audio settings once again. So on Windows, go to Options, Preferences, or on Mac, go to Live Preferences. Now go to the Audio tab, and you should be able to see this buffer size. So the shorter the buffer size, the less latency you'll have when recording. So if I have a shorter buffer size, there'll be less of a delay between my source going into the microphone and us actually hearing it back through Ableton. One problem with doing this, if you reduce the buffer size too much, it could cause your computer to crash or glitch. So just try out different settings. The lower you go, the less latency you'll get. The higher you are, the less strain your computer will be put under. However, there will be more latency. I'm just going to leave mine at 128 for the moment. Generally, when recording, I'd recommend having the buffer size as low as your computer can handle, but when you're mixing, you may as well increase the buffer size to its max, as it will allow you to use more plugins. Right, what I'm going to do now is record in a bass part. So, I'm going to make sure my track is record enabled. I'm just going to turn monitor to auto mode now so we can hear it back while recording. I want to record this part along with the other clips in the track. I'm just going to make sure they're active by pressing the scene button here and then pausing. Now, when I hit record, these will play along with the recording. I'm just going to check what my counting is quickly. Right, we've got 1 bar. And I don't really need a metronome anymore as I've got my drum part. Right, let's record. Okay, I recorded in a simple bass part, just doubling the bass that we've already got. Let's have a listen back to it. Okay, that sounds fine, but the timing is a little off. In the next video, I'll look at quantizing this piece of audio. Something I want to do quickly first though, is just double check the length of my loop is correct. Here, I want it to be 16 bars in length. So let's just double check that's exactly 16, so it's the same as our original bass part. Right, as you can see, once you're all set up, recording audio is just as easy as recording MIDI. Editing audio is a little more difficult, but we'll start looking at that next. Thanks for watching.